Hi everyone, this week's video is not watches. We'll get back to that one next week. Just for your interest, Seagull 1963, made in China, and that's what today's look at is a Chinese motorcycle, namely the ZSB 125, made by Lexmoto. So I call it the Beast from the East. And it's my nickname for it is the Baby Booster, because I did have a Hayabusa, a 57 plate, probably about 16 years ago now, pearlescent white limited edition, last of the first shape, and the way the back end came down on it looks similar to this bike, but that's through my glasses. I haven't had my eyes tested for a while. Here it is asleep, covered up. I thought I'd do a video and tell you my views, not necessarily how it could be better, because at the end of the day, and ironically, when this bike is a 2020 model, so it's 2 years old, and I got it with 353 miles on the clock, and ironically the person who bought this brand new, as I'm the second owner, got this for about £1,000, and I paid £1,400, so I paid £400 second hand for a bike that's 2 years old that only cost £1,000 on the road or thereabouts when it was new 2 years ago. But nevertheless, we're going to ride about. Hopefully I'll set the microphone up correctly in my helmet so that you can hear me above any wind noise, because it seems a bit windy today, and I might even hit the dizzying speeds of 55 to 60 miles an hour in places. You never know. So we'll have a quick look, and I apologise for my untidy man cave. I am slowly getting there. The wife helped me yesterday to tidy the place up, because recently I had my son's Ducati 696 in here, and my Phaser 600 that I no longer own. A nice guy, well, 3 guys came from the east coast of England, 170 miles. I sold my Phaser because I hadn't got the time. I'm in a bit of a difficult situation with taking things to pieces, because I have to be careful not to cut myself. Last summer I took the carburetors off it, cleaned them and put them back on, but maybe I didn't do the job good enough. I'm not sure what the problem was, but then it started to misfire not long after I put it back together, and I lost heart in the bike. And as I say, I have to be careful taking things to pieces, as I'm on anti-blood clotting tablets following my heart attack 5 years ago. So I do maintenance, routine maintenance. I'm very careful at doing that. I've already changed the oil on this bike. It was overdue its oil change. I changed it at roughly 357 miles. It should have had it done at 300 miles, but it's been done. I did it myself. 17mm bolt out the sump, boom, job done. So all being well, I'll be able to talk while I'm riding, and you'll be able to hear my voice, hopefully, because I've not had much success in the past vlogging, because maybe it's speed. I'm not sure what the problems are, but maybe I should do some more experimentation with a little microphone that I fit inside my helmet. Nevertheless, we'll see what gives. Next week we'll be back to normal service of reviewing watches, as the channel's called Motorcycles and Things. This week it happens to be a motorbike, so I'm going to use my YouTube channel and this bike as a bit of a diary for myself, and we'll see what goes wrong with it, or if anything goes wrong with it in the future. And I bought it as a commuter bike for work. But we'll get into that when I get on and start riding it. So I'll start it up in a minute, get my clobber on, leave it to warm up and purr like a little kitten, hopefully. Right then, hopefully I can be heard. I'll try not to shout. salt all over the roads from last night. Sunday the 3rd of April. Let's open my visor. Oh, that's better. I can sort of see. I was misting up. Didn't think that guy was going to stop them in his nice BMW. I don't think you'll be able to see my phone, and I can't see it myself at the moment. I've just fitted temporarily a holder on the handlebars. I think it might, no, it's still on, just the way the sun's hitting it. I've got a satellite navigation app on the phone to try and pick up what the difference between the speedo on the motorbike is and what the satellites claim speed I'm doing, because they are different. Now then, my speedo on the bike says I'm doing 35, speedo on that says 31. Now it's saying 37 on the bike, 32 on that, so 5 miles an hour there. Normally every road I get on where I live, if it's a 50 people are doing 40, if it's a 30 people are doing 24. It's very annoying. Well, I'm doing 56 according to the bike, but that says 48. The sat nav says 48, I don't think you see it, 49. Well, I'm doing 60 on indicated on the 63, 64, 66. I don't know if you can see this. 62. Oh, I've had to slow down, I'm catching a car up. So I'm on my baby booster, as I call it, and I bought this as a commuter for work, because where I work, I won't mention the C word, but people are back at work now after the lockdowns and staying at home, working from home. It never affected me. I went to work every day in the job that I do in a building. But now people are back. We've got limited car parking spaces, and I've only been at the place 4 years. And one small car park we've got there, you have to be there 20 years. And the other car park, something like 15 years before you're entitled to a parking space. So tight, it's a bit tight, parking is. So I thought, I've got a car, nothing wrong with it, great little car, but you know, I may have to dump the car at Tesco's free car park for 3 hours and then move it somewhere else. So I'm not even in a busy town, but because I've been yapping, I'm losing momentum, and that's what these 125s are all about now. Move out the way, let him pass. Go on mate, you've got a clear road there. My indicated speed on the clock, if you can see it or not, is 52. I'm not full throttle. I don't consider this bike as being ran in yet. 6,500 revs, 55. The actual sat nav speed I've got indicated is 47. So 55 on the speedo on the bike, 47 on the sat nav. I don't know if you can see either of these, but right, turn right. We're in Warwickshire, by the way, and it's the 3rd. I think I've already said it's the 3rd. I tend to repeat myself. Lot of traffic, Sunday afternoon. Little sooty van, he's pulling out. I don't know where this car's going, but go on mate. This will probably be a bit distorted. Hey, what's going on here then? Diversion, and everybody seems to be going that way. Has the road been resurfaced? I don't know, we'll see. Everybody else is going that way, so I will follow suit. Yeah, they're definitely resurfacing the road at some point, by the look of it. Now then, I'm going to get boring for a little minute. In fact, all of it might be boring, depending on your viewpoint and etc. Trying to mount to why I've got a 125. I've got a full motorcycle licence that I've had since 2002. Passed my test in 2002 on a motorbike. I already owned a Fireblade and was a bit naughty and used to ride it around. A Fox Eye one, a 96 Fireblade. If I can find a picture, I'll put it on the screen while I'm talking. And I passed my test and I went on a rampage of buying cars. My wife had a good job. I was in full-time employment and I also had a part-time job doing I'm not sure, sometimes 2 12-hour shifts, most of the time 1 12-hour shift at Mallory Park motor racing circuit. That was in 03 till about 07, maybe 06. I am, by the way, just changing the subject for 1 second, I am actually going to do a review of this bike in my next, maybe not next video, that'll be watches, but the video after will be a review of this bike. 43 sat nav, 44 sat nav, 51 bike. Anyway, I went through a period of buying and swapping my bikes. In 2017, September the 6th, it was a bad day in my life. I had a heart attack. I had a speed triple, a Triumph speed triple, which was an 11 plate. What speed we doing? And following my heart attack and my rehabilitation, I lost a bit of weight, I lost a lot of strength, and I didn't work for about 7 months. And then the bills kept coming through the letterbox as they do, so the bike got sold and I sort of lost interest with bikes for a while. I had three, I can't remember how the story goes, whether I had 3 Fireblades, not all at the same time, and 4 Super Blackbirds. It's either 4 Fireblades and 3 Super Blackbirds. I went to the Isle of Man on one of my first Blackbird, which was the oldest one, carburetted version. I should have found a picture of that to put on the start finish line at the Isle of Man. Managed to go round there flat out on the mountain section, 186 miles an hour with the missus on the back. Now this is a road here that I know, well, I used to know, unless they've altered a little bit. I've had many a good thrash down here. I knew this like the back of my hand. I used to come to work for 2 years solid down this road in all conditions: ice, snow, sleet, rain, summer. Where did I get to in my little story? Yeah, I went to the Isle of Man on my Blackbird, and then I ended up with changing up for a sports bike, and then I changed that again for another Blackbird, and so on, so on. I ended up with the last incarnation of the Blackbird. It was 2-tone paintwork, blue. The last ones they ever made before they ceased production, they were 2-tone. I think it was about a 07, I think that was, 08. I think they made those too. That was a fuel injected one. And then I had this little itch to scratch regarding a Hayabusa, so I traded the Blackbird in and then got a Hayabusa, which was a limited edition. It was the very last 200, I think it was, off the production line of that shape of the Mark 1. And mine had a plaque on the headstock. I've only got one picture and I don't think I can find it as to yet. I've got one picture lurking about somewhere on my computer that I've not managed to find, but I had a white Hayabusa. I didn't really bond with it. I scraped the living daylights out of it. I really did. Scraped the living daylights out of that bike, and I never bonded with it. It was comfortable. It was, the brakes were never good enough for its performance. The brakes didn't match. There was nowhere near as good as the Super Blackbird brakes. But I got rid of that bike, probably to get another Blackbird, I would imagine. I can't remember now. I've had a lot of bikes. Then I had a DRZ 400 for a short time, and I was coming back from the local bike meet about 18 miles away. I was on the dual carriageway and some kids overtook me. I was flat out
on a DLZ 400. It was only about a year old, quite a nice bike it was, and they overtook me taking the mickey. They only just got past me on a dual carriageway. So the following week I went out and bought a big bike, 1000cc, whatever it was, because I felt humiliated by these kids in this Fiesta what barely overtook me. Then I had a KTM LC4 640. Hated that bike. Of all the bikes I've ever had, that was the one I think I most hated. It was like a big vibrator on wheels. Horrible machine to me it was. It looked nice, but it was horrible. And then after that I think I got a Kawasaki KRX 1200. 5-speed gearbox. It had rear shocks on the back and it had massive under-seat storage that I'll never forget. I could get my arm down more or less up to my elbow. I don't know whether to go back over that road. I can hear a little sort of rubbing sort of sound on this bike. I don't know if the chain needs lubricating. Like a whining like that. Bit of a dodgy place to turn around, but so most of the roads where I actually travel, I don't really do long distances. In a, I don't know, a 10-mile radius of my house, if I go out for a leisure ride, as I say, normally 50-mile-an-hour zone, people are doing like 42, so this bike's more than fast enough. And then I only work 3 miles away from home, so if it weren't for the road being quite dangerous, worse than this, the cars actually do go a bit fast down there, and there's no pavements, no street lamps. Getting back to the bigger bikes, I had my son's Ducati and I had a Phaser, and was still insured for his Ducati, and when I go down to see my son on the East Coast, I'll while I'm there for a week's holiday, he'll jump on his Kawasaki and I'll jump on his Ducati. But he borrowed it from me. I didn't really want it, but he was sort of doing me a favour. And the weather being what's just gone, I've had it for the last 6 months. I don't want his bike standing out there getting sort of rained on if it starts raining at work, which means I'll have to meticulously clean it, because he keeps his cleaning to a higher standard than I do. So I did use it on a few occasions, but blimey, we're doing 50, 52. That said we were doing 43, the sat nav did, by the way. Call this the switchbacks, I do. It's called Widdeybrook Lane, Shilton. It was a notorious sort of lover's lane, late at night, probably still is, I would guess. If you come down here when it's dark, there mysteriously will be a car somewhere in a bit of a layer-by, like where we are now on the left, with steamed up windows. Say no more on that one. This is Widdeybrook, and to the left of me there's a load of aerials, radio masts for I don't know if it's Mercia Sound, I'm not sure. Blimey, I've still got a full tank. I'll do a full review of this bike if it's still running. I had a bike similar to this not that long ago that I again bought for work, but it's difficult to have a big bike, is what I've found. It's difficult to have a big bike and a little 125, and I'll try and explain that one. Before my heart attack, let's get it in first gear, that would help, because I'm talking. That's it, we're in first. The sun's bright. There we go. Go on, mate. People are being rather nice today. Give him way. Oh, where did I get to? It's difficult to have a powerful bike and a 125. I'll try and explain what I meant about that. I owned a ZX-10R, undoubtedly my favourite bike I've ever had. Sadly, it brought the hooligan out in me, and I used to ride it like I was in a race on British Superbike. I'm not joking. The thing was mad, and you may have to do some googling if you don't believe what I'm going to tell you. But in first gear, it would regularly do 107 miles an hour when you hit the rev limiter in first. And if you put the throttle on, put the power on big time in first, after you've got past sort of 20 miles an hour, when it got to 93, the front wheel would lift. It was one seriously extreme machine, that was, and it was as light as a feather for 1000cc. I don't know the stats on it, how heavy it was, but if you sat on it and lifted your arms off the handlebars and sat upright and wiggled it about, it was, you'd think you was on a 250. I absolutely loved the bike, and then one day I sat and thought, I'm either going to get killed, should I be at home to miss the cock up or have a blowout or a chain snaps or something drastic. I'm going to be either dead or in a bad way, and or I'm going to get Mr. Pointy Man Hat in a police car's going to get me, you know. So that's the only reason I got rid of the bike and replaced it with a Speed Triple. But at the time of owning the ZX-10, considering I worked at a different place then, but it wasn't that far away, it was only about 5 miles and a lot of traffic roads. So I bought the Sinis 125 Apache that was only about, I don't know, 6 months old. Like brand new it was. And obviously pulling away and doing first gear 10 miles an hour and changing to second, a bit like this bike I'm on here. If I rode it to work all week, got used to the power, then when the weekend came and it was a nice day and I got my ZX-10 out, bearing in mind, like I said, it did 107 in first if you scream the living daylights out of it. It was a real hard bike to get used to the ZX-10, and that's part of the reason why I've asked my son to have his Ducati back. It's because if I go out and ride that, it's that nice to ride and that much of a nice bike, and powers at your right hand, as it were, instant power. And when you jump on this would seem like somebody's took your engine away from you. So for every reason that's positive, a couple of negative ones, it made sense to have this bike, or a 125 for me, under my conditions, my circumstances, and where I travel to, on the sort of roads I travel on. So that's how I ended up with this. And it's getting cold now, I'll tell you. This is Bulkington, the village of Bulkington, where I'm at, on the way to Bedworth. 52 miles an hour my speedo on the bike showing, 52, and that's showing 45, so 7 miles an hour slower. Interesting that, isn't it? Right, down a one-way street. Let's see if anybody's coming up the wrong way. It won't be the first time I've come down here and seen a car coming up it. This is Bedworth. I actually scraped my foot then. Going around that island. this is a part of the road of the journey on the way home when I leave work, this road, and it's 50-mile-an-hour limit when you get over this bridge. You'll see what I mean when you're on a big bike. It's quite a pleasant road when nobody's around, but cars don't seem to do even 40, some of them, let alone 50. Ooh, nearly 7,000 revs there, look. You bad boy. Speedo on the bike says 55, that says 47. Thanks for watching, folks.